My mother. She's a really, really interesting person, one that I really understood who I was through my mother. And she was the actual one that was beating me when I was 3 years old. And, I kind of always wanted to understand, why the hell would you beat me? you know? And it was doctors that told her what to do, and it was religion that told her what to do, and a lot of her past experiences in life when she was a kid sort of told her what to do. But she's a really, really amazing person if you can kind of look for the amazement in it. She would always tell me, well, when I was a kid, this is how they treated me, and it was really, really bad. The stories were horrible. And the stories would always come from, if I ever complained about my life, she would always say, if you think you've got it bad, you should have seen what I went through. So I could always sort of see where she was coming from, and I could always see that she's trying to do something better. And her life mantra is just do your best. When I was a kid, for some odd reason, she was right into horoscopes. And so when I was experiencing challenges, she would read my horoscope and say that I was just in a learning phase, and that I would learn from this experience and do something with it. And she always told me that my success in life would come when I'm very much older. Okay, I'm older, so I'm looking for the success. And I'm sort of like putting the pieces together, and it's like, damn, she was right all the time, all the time. And yet she never believed in herself. She, you know, her forms of survival have been really, really interesting. Right now, she has Alzheimer's. And you can see she really, really created the disease herself. She doesn't really have it, she just believes she has it. And the medical world is like confirming it. And it's really, really wild to watch the development of, if you're observing everything that goes on. And she's always been sort of an out of the box thinker, which is probably why I am. That's where I got it from. My father's very, very logical, worked in media, newspaper management. He's the philosophy that you got to work hard. That's what life's about: working hard, working hard. Don't show family any love at all. Where my mom was more, have fun, and life is about sharing love and helping each other. But this was always suppressed. She was always put down anytime um, she had any kind of thought. My father was always there to fight with her and tell her how wrong she was. So most of my life, her form of protection was, I'm really dumb. I'm really, really stupid. It was like she was in agreement with what everybody was going to say, but she was actually really intelligent. She just didn't believe. Nobody was out there in her universe telling her how smart she was. And then another form of protecting herself was to say, "Oh, I got a bad memory. Don't expect me to remember everything because I got a bad memory." So she said all my life she had a bad memory. And you can see where it comes up is when my father would always fight and have these expectations that were next to impossible for her to accomplish. To get out of the fight, she'd always say, "I got a bad memory." you know Deal with it, live with it. I got a bad memory. I'm at one with what you're saying. Sorry I couldn't be what you wanted me to be, but I got a bad memory. And my father's very controlling and wanted it to always be his way. My mother has this cottage that she loved plants and nature and having a lot of fun. She had this the cottage that they purchased had this driftwood that they would paint to make it look like a dragon all the time. So it was her life mission to make these objects anybody that's passing by the cottage would always make you sit back and have a good laugh, or, let your imagination go. Or she would always have all of these flowers for everybody to sort of, oh, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that, she was really focused on life and feeling good. They even made this, when you see wood come up and it's got this bubble thing on this tree that grows. Well, they chopped one of those things down and um, painted. You made it look like a butt with a yellow polka dot bikini, and then they made a table out of it. So that was another little conversation piece. In the windows, their whole cottage was nothing but windows, and they ended up buying these massive pieces of underwear, the granny underwear. Well, this was as big as practically the length of the cottage, and with bras to match. That, like, the boobs were the size of massive boulders, like. And then they would hang it up as if it was drying, so that anybody that walked by would go, holy shit, who the hell lives there? Like, this is who my mother was. But my father was always logical thinking, and um, couldn't stand the cottage. Didn't want to drive out there. Couldn't stand the joy of just relaxing in the sun and the heat. He hated heat. And because my mother was always saying my memory's bad and the fights started increasing, she actually increased that experience to the point where she really didn't remember stuff. And the stuff that she didn't remember was all based on what she was forced to experience. That um, eventually, yeah, the medical world was diagnosing her as having Alzheimer's. And yet it's really funny that I could have a conversation with her, and if she was really interested in the conversation, she'd remember it. She would talk to me as if she doesn't have Alzheimer's at all, and then if I happened to say something that was a little challenging, oops, don't remember, but I can even go months after talking with my mom and recall the conversation that we had that she enjoyed. She, funny and magically, remembers that conversation. So that's what I think Alzheimer's is all about, is you got some reason why you don't want to remember your past. Um, a lot of it is trauma. A lot of it is your way of coping. A lot of it is your way of not being able to express yourself and be accepted within society. And you got to admit, if you have no memory, life is peaceful. And that's what we're all after, is to just get that peaceful experience. And isn't it so much more peaceful if you remember, if you forget all of the hell that's going on in your life? All of the bad decisions that you kind of realize, oh my God, that was really wrong. And you can't live with yourself because you did something so bad, that it's just better to forget all of that. And there is chemicals that you will experience by you trying to constantly forget those memories. And the chemicals that you experience will affect all aspects of your life. So you won't remember nothing. I mean, if you start creating chemicals that gives you the experience to forget stuff, it will affect everything. It will affect you forgetting every aspect of your life, to the point where they put a diagnosis on you having this disease. But if you can see the patterns that created it, it's like, well, if my father only decided to listen to my mother and not want to be in control all the time, but sort of, okay, let's see what kind of life she can create. What's this about love? What's this about enjoying life? I'll follow you and your path for a while. I'll listen to everything that you want. Um, then she would come out of her illness. But as it turns out, as soon as she developed Alzheimer's, he sold the cottage, because he didn't like it, and she's perfectly at one with it. She's like, oh, we're getting old. It's too much work. These are just all beliefs of my father that she's now adapted into her new reality just to make life peaceful. I mean, she's even had fights with my father, and now that she has Alzheimer's, she's like, I have Alzheimer's. How do you expect me to remember what we're fighting about? How is it somebody with Alzheimer's can put two and two together that, hey, I have a disease and that's a good excuse for me not to remember anything, so we don't need to be fighting about anything because I have Alzheimer's. And she would laugh about it. It's her way of surviving in life. And you probably, I've recognized this with a lot of people with Alzheimer's. It's like, what's the family dynamics going on? Is this person more about love? Are they really, really have a hard time remembering their past? And are they just trying to forget it all? It is quite interesting, but it can be reversed if we wanted to, but we've really got to find a different way and supporting of each other in that different way. Peace out. Love.